greater chance of them being different from what they are. Really, it's all just scrambling to come up with some kind of rationale that sounds reasonable for them to posit the machinations of a supernatural, magical being casting divine spells that make everything in the universe all hunky-dory for one particular species of balding apes. Or actually, making everything in the universe pretty shitty, but ultimately somewhat survivable for that balding ape. Because this magical being really, really likes said balding ape. But just so long as they don't touch themselves at night or eat shellfish. Oh, and make sure you cut that extra skin off of your dicks too, because that really matters to the magic man for some reason.
This is, again, in our lifetimes, they've discovered that the size of the Earth, you know, you watch Star Trek, you watch these movies, you think, hey, a planet could be any size. They have discovered in our lifetimes that if the Earth were the tiniest bit smaller, I mean like the tiny, like 2-3%, we could not have our atmosphere, we could not have life.
You a dumb, stupid bastard.
We just have to chalk this one up to Eric being legitimately dumb and not knowing how to math properly. I always say, never chalk up to dishonesty what can be better explained by stupidity. And I think Eric just misread the scientific findings and is now running off at the mouth with his bullshit. The recent scientific finding that he's referencing came from this article, Atmospheric Evolution on Low-Gravity Water Worlds. Its findings are broken down in this article about how small the smallest exoplanets can be and still support life. The new peer-reviewed results were first published in the Astrophysical Journal on August 13, 2019. They said, how small is too small? The critical boundary point seems to be about 2.7% of the mass of Earth. Any planet less massive than that would lose their atmosphere to space before liquid water could form on their surfaces, and any water that might be present would vaporize or freeze. For comparison, the Moon is 1.2% of Earth's mass, and Mercury is 5.53%. So, Eric saw this, or perhaps some other dipshit relayed this information improperly to him and then he just ran with it without checking on it first, and he thought that when it said that the boundary is about 2.7% of the mass of the Earth, that meant that the Earth could only be 2 or 3% smaller before it would lose its atmosphere. No, Eric, that's not what it said. It said a planet could be 2.7% of the mass of the Earth. So if Earth is 100% of the mass of the Earth, then a planet could be just 2.7% of that and still hold its atmosphere and form liquid water and, you know, be habitable. So to use Eric's vernacular, a planet could actually be about 97% smaller than Earth and still support life. Learn how to read, you supposed author.
But they've also discovered, if that's not weird enough, that if we're 2 or 3% larger, we could not have our atmosphere.
And that's another big fail. Astronomers generally define a super-Earth as any planet between the size of Earth and 10 times more massive. Astronomers tend to call planets larger than that mini-Neptunes, but that apparently clean distinction disguises a lot of nuances that are important for determining habitability. Obviously, something closer to the size of Earth has a better chance of being habitable, because presumably it's very similar to Earth. And something closer to the size of Neptune probably would not be a very fun place for life to find a foothold, because Neptune in general isn't all that hospitable, at least according to the definition above. This all means that an Earth-like planet can be 10 times the size of Earth. That would be 1,000% larger than Earth, and still support life, Eric. Now, this one might be him being outright deceptive, because I couldn't find anything anywhere that even came close to verifying his idea that the Earth could only be a couple percent larger and then not be able to support life. I'm thinking that he came across that idea of a planet not being able to be habitable if it was less than 2.7% the mass of Earth. Then he misunderstood that as meaning that the Earth couldn't be more than 2.7% smaller, and then he thought that that was a great argument for fine-tuning, and then just extrapolated based on nothing that, well, if it can't be more than 2.7% smaller, I'll bet that means it can't be more than 2.7% bigger either. I mean, that just makes logical sense. And then he just ran with that based on nothing. Because the second he said that, without even looking anything up, I knew he was full of it. I mean, we have known for a hell of a long time that larger size planets can support life.
I'm saying, like, so you mean to tell me that if our Earth were not exactly the size that it is, there would be no life?
No, Eric, that's not what I mean to tell you. What I mean to tell you is that you're dumb, and wrong, and a grifter, and desperate for attention and relevance, and all in service to a god that doesn't exist in the first place.
The planet Jupiter is 400 million miles away from Earth. If you've ever seen it in the night sky, it's like a pinprick of light. It's so far away you can't even imagine. It's 4 times farther than the sun. Tiny. There it is. Okay. Science now knows. This is science. We're not talking about the Bible. We're talking about science says that if Jupiter weren't there with its tremendous mass, because it's a very large planet, its gravity is so strong that it is drawing away, like, 99.9% of the asteroids and meteors that would hit Earth.
Okay, so what? I mean, that's like saying that the big tree in your yard provides shade and kept you from getting sunburnt when you were mowing the grass. Oh, therefore, God must have put that tree there. No. That's what we would call a coincidence. And it's not even a one-way, totally beneficial coincidence either. The fact that Jupiter absorbed or deflects so much material in its planetary neighborhood led to the common idea that it is a shield for the inner solar system, intercepting asteroids and comets that might otherwise come our way. But research has suggested that Jupiter's influence may actually work both ways, pulling objects into its gravity well sometimes and slingshotting them into the inner solar system other times. Simulations have suggested that while the presence of a large planet like Jupiter in our solar system might decrease the likelihood of a comet from the Oort cloud colliding with Earth, it can actually increase the likelihood of an impact with an asteroid or a short-period comet, those with orbits closer to the Sun. Additionally, but Jupiter creates both good and bad conditions for earthly life. Consider that its powerful gravity prevented space rocks orbiting near it from coalescing into a planet, and that's why our solar system today has an asteroid belt, consisting of hundreds of thousands of small flying chunks of debris. So, while it may deflect some of the asteroids that threaten to hit us, it is the entire reason that other dangerous asteroids exist in the first place. So, at best, it's a mixed bag of positives and negatives, neither of which indicate any kind of divine hand at work. I mean, we live in a solar system. All solar systems are a mix of different planets orbiting a star. Most planets have other larger planets within their solar systems, which are going to have more mass and therefore greater gravity, and therefore deflect other celestial bodies towards them. The vast majority of planets in existence have cosmically nearby larger planets deflecting space debris. This is